The Tour de France 2017 began today in Germany for the fourth time in its history. The first stage comprised a 14-kilometre flat time trial, which in the weather conditions seemed likely to create some time gaps and would leave the overall race contenders with an interesting dilemma: race fast and risk crashing, or be prepared to lose some time. With the race underway, the big concern for everyone is the rain. The early leader was former world champion for Team Sky, Vasil Kirienka, who set a time of 16 minutes 11. The defending champion, Chris Froome, was leaving nothing to chance and followed his teammate in the car. It was Kirienka's teammate, Geraint Thomas, that eclipsed the time to head the leaderboard in 16 minutes and 4 seconds. The balance between speed and risk was narrowing, and Alejandro Valverde found out how one error could cost the race. He crashed spectacularly on a fast turn. Unfortunately, his tour is already over. We waited as the favourites took aim at the time of Thomas, but no one could match the pace of the Welshman. Tony Martin, a big favourite, couldn't beat the time. Defending champion Chris Froome couldn't get close either. The first stage and maillot jaune go to Geraint Thomas. Team Sky are ready for this Tour de France. We waited for Tony Martin, Richie Porte and Chris Froome, but in the end the evening belonged to the lieutenant of Chris Froome, Geraint Thomas, twice Olympic Team Pursuit champion and winner of Paris-Nice, his first time in the yellow jersey.
Oh, it's just an amazing feeling. I went to bed last night really looking forward to it. I like starting with a prologue. I love the tour, just great to be here, and never really thought about winning or the aftermath. You know, it was just about get out there and ride as fast as I can, and to win is an absolute dream, and to wear the yellow jersey in the Tour de France doesn't get any bigger.
A spectacular time trial by Geraint Thomas, a 5-second win over Stefan Kung, but Team Sky packing the top 10. Thomas now leads the race with that 5-second advantage. Stefan Kung in the best young rider jersey. It's going to be an interesting day on day 2. Tomorrow, stage 2 of the race is the first bunch sprint of this year's Tour de France. It takes the riders to Belgium. The stage will be 203 kilometres between Düsseldorf and Liège without crossing a single part of the Ardennes. It's suited perfectly to a sprinter. Let's see how the sprinters fare in the first rendezvous of this year's race. The Tour de France peloton headed to Belgium today for 203 kilometres, finishing in Liège. Unusually, this stage doesn't feature the hills of the Ardennes, normally found in this region on races like Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Today's route favoured a breakaway, and as long as the peloton get their calculations right, then the promise of a huge bunch sprint for the Stage 2 glory. The tape was cut by Thomas Geisel, the mayor of Düsseldorf, and Christian Prudhomme, the Tour de France director. As soon as the flag was dropped on the first proper road stage, 4 men began the hostilities. They launched their attack and quickly broke clear. At the front, 3 Frenchmen emerged in the breakaway. Pichon of Fortuné Oscaro, Fredo of the Wanty Group, and World Omnium champion Thomas Boudat of Direct Energy. They were joined by American Taylor Phinney of Cannondale Drapac, who crossed the first King of the Mountains points of the Tour in first place. Again, the weather wasn't kind to the tough men of the Tour de France, and then Sky's starlight day of yesterday turned to sudden darkness. Froome crashed with Romain Bardet. Both of them left chasing with their teammates. Then Froome had a bike change. The defending champion was left chasing the rest of the peloton. He managed, though, to come back, paced by the rest of his teammates. Phinney secured the polka dot jersey. And finally, only 2 men were left challenging at the front of the race. Finney and Alfredo pressed on, trying to outwit the sprinters' teams. But it wasn't to be. 1 kilometre from the finish in Liège, the duo were caught and the power men hit the front with their teams. In the closing metres, the German star Marcel Kittel unleashed his sprint. He closed on the line fast to win a dramatic day. Marcel Kittel won the first rendezvous of the sprinters, his 10th stage win of the Tour and his 10th win of the 2017 season.
I'm super happy that I got this victory today, and it was an incredible start in Germany. So many people, and for me it would be wrong to say that I had no expectation or no pressure.
An emotional day for Marcel Kittel. Here we have the first hierarchy of the sprinters in this year's Tour. Kittel won ahead of Arnaud Démare and his German compatriot André Greipel. There was no change at the top of the general classification. Geraint Thomas of Team Sky remains in the yellow jersey. Stage 3. We find the riders crossing the entire length of Luxembourg before they arrive in France at Longwy. This stage is not an easy one, with rolling roads, which will mean the leaders need to be alert. The finish at the top of the Côte de Religieuse, a climb of 1.6 kilometres at 5.8%. It should produce an exciting end to a long day. The peloton enters France today with an arrival in Longwy after a 212-kilometre stage from Verviers in Belgium. The riders cover the length of Luxembourg on the way to the finish. The route is rolling with many narrow roads and a visit to the circuit at Spa-Francorchamps, but the finish profile will give the puncheurs something to be excited about, with a finish line placed at the top of the Côte de Religieuse. As we reach the third stage, there are some interesting questions being asked. Will Geraint Thomas try to keep his yellow jersey, or will he already ride for Chris Froome after his crash of yesterday? 15 kilometres after the start, a group of intrepid attackers finally launched. 6 men are at the front of the race. They push hard, taking advantage of the curves of the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, with some points at 75 kilometres an hour. They failed to grow their advantage substantially, but the fight for the polka dot jersey continued. Niels Pollard of Katusha Alpecin and Nathan Brown decided that the speed needed to increase, and they attacked. On the Côte d'Archouf, Nathan Brown tried to keep the polka dot jersey in the hands of the Cannondale Drapac team. It looked set that these riders would be alone all day. However, there was a sudden change in circumstances. Thomas de Ghent, Calmejean and Perichon raced across to the leaders. They then splintered the race, taking Hardy with them. Calmejean tried to take the race on alone, but the peloton closed in and caught the escapees. Into the finishing climb, Richie Porte was first, but with 400 metres to go, Peter Sagan and Dan Martin started to sprint. Michael Bling Matthews was there, but the world champion had everything under control, even having time to sit up and wave to the crowd. He belongs to the world champion Peter Sagan of Bora Hansgrohe, a double world champion, and today his 8th win in the Tour de France.
It was not easy with a headwind and the technical part in the end. It was a lot of stress from in the peloton. I was another mistake. What's happening today? And after I just started and I won. Yeah, almost Matthews beat me, but yeah, I'm very happy for this victory and thank you, Bora Hansgrohe.
Peter Sagan takes stage number 3 to Longwy, beating Michael Matthews and Dan Martin into 2nd and 3rd places. Geraint Thomas continues his lead in the Tour de France. His teammate Chris Froome now in 2nd place. Tomorrow, the fourth stage, 207.5 kilometres, takes the riders to Vittel. It's likely to be the second rendezvous for the sprinters before the race to Planche de Belleville on Wednesday. The control of the race should fall to the sprinters' teams as they master any breakaways. The appetizer before the fight of the favourites tomorrow in La Planche de Belleville took the riders to Vittel. Leaving Mondorf-les-Bains as a start town for the first time, the riders cross one sprinter Corvia and a mountain climb at Col de Trois-Fontaines before a power sprint to the line in the spa town of Vittel. Kittel will seek another win in the green jersey, this time add in Demar, Greipel, Cavendish and homeboy Buani, and we have a tantalising finish. As of kilometre zero, a man races clear of the peloton. It's the Belgian of the team at Wanty Group. Guillaume van Keersbroek, the winner of the 3 days of Depana 2014. But the peloton decide not to follow him in his early attempt. With a big lead, he raced through the sprint point alone, followed by Demar ahead of Sagan. The day was starting well for the Frenchman. Van Keersbroek raced through the King of the Mountains point in the lead, but the jersey remains with Nathan Brown of Cannondale Drapac. "16 kilometres to go, and Van Keersbroek, the Belgian rider, succumbed to the chase of the peloton. A nervous peloton raced into Vittel, but there were more twists to happen. The yellow jersey hit the deck. Mark Cavendish hit the barriers in the sprint, with other riders somersaulting over the top. But the French champion missed a melee and raced home to take his first win in the Tour de France. Cavendish hit the deck. Geraint Thomas in the yellow jersey was bruised but steadfast. The finish in Vittel was crash-laden. This fourth stage, for sure, will leave traces. It's extraordinary, it's fabulous. I dreamt about this since I became a professional. My first tour in 2014 was really, really hard. Today I'm here with a strong team. I'm really, really happy. After the finish, the judges disqualified Peter Sagan from the Tour de France. He disappears from the leaderboard and goes home. Demar takes stage number 4. Geraint Thomas is still the leader. Tomorrow is going to be a very, very different day. 12 seconds his lead on his teammate. Tomorrow, the peloton attacks La Planche de Belleville. This is the first real test of the race, so their favourites' legs must show up in good condition. Those in good form can take advantage on the short but difficult climb to the finish. La Planche de Belleville is a rite of passage for a contender. The first showdown of the Tour de France for the contenders today, La Planche de Belleville to complete stage number 5. After a hard 154 kilometres between Vittel through the Vosges and Haute-Saône, the peloton will climb this fearsome wall for the third time in the history of the Tour to complete 160.5 kilometres. Two men have won on this climb, Chris Froome in 2012 and Vincenzo Nibali in 2014. We know that the winner of today's stage will be a serious rival for the others to win the Maillot Jaune in Paris. There were vigorous attacks from the start, eventually releasing 8 riders from the front. It's a strong breakaway. Bosenhagen, Gilbert on his birthday, Bakelans, Perrichon, Vauclair in his last tour, Van Baarle, De Gent and Delage. The pace is high, BMC under control. Edvald Bosenhagen took the intermediate sprint. Then Jan Bakelans of Agiduela Mondiale attacked the rest of the breakaway. He was joined by 5 others from the original escape. As they closed in on the final climb, birthday man Philippe Gilbert attacks hard, only Bakelans managing to respond. But the two men succumbed just 3.8 kilometres from the line. Congratulations to both. At the front, Sky were dominant, but the winner of the Vuelta a España, Fabio Aru, rises and goes clear. The Italian champion looks majestic as he roars to the top of the climb, leaving Sky and Froome in his wake. Quintana loses time on the rest of the main challengers. A day for Fabio Aru, the Italian champion. Like his compatriot Nibali, Fabio Aru wins on the climb of La Planche de Belfi. After missing the Giro with an injury, his win now puts him in range of the maillot jaune of the Tour de France. I knew I was strong today. I've already won on the Giro, the Vuelta, but I missed one on the Tour. A win on the Tour is absolutely extraordinary. I attacked from about 3 kilometers from the finish, and I had to really work hard and hold them off to the last kilometer. It was really hard in that last wall of the climb. I'm so glad I won. Fabio Aru takes stage number 5, 16 seconds ahead of Dan Martin. Chris Froome in 3rd place. Chris Froome now the new maillot jaune of the Tour de France, 12 seconds ahead of his teammate Fabio Aru, now dangerous in 3rd place. Tomorrow we return to more flat roads from Vesoul to Troyes. 2 climbs on the 216-kilometre course, maybe a day for the breakaway, unless the peloton decide to bring them back and go for the bunch sprint. A long transfer day ahead for the riders from Vesoul to Troyes, stage 6 of the Tour de France. 2 climbs listed on the route for the polka dot jersey classification and a sprint at Colombey-les-Deux-Églises, the city of General de Gaulle. The main challenge for the riders today, aside of the terrain, is the heat. The mercury hitting near 35 degrees at the height of the day and a constantly present sun to hurt the riders. At the stage start, there didn't seem to be many candidates for a breakaway, but nonetheless, 3 intrepid warriors decided to take the lead as soon as the flag dropped. Frederik Backert of Wanty Group was back on the attack, and he was joined by Norwegian Langen of UAE and Frenchman Quermenot of Direct Energy. At kilometre 69, Quermenot takes the points on offer at the Côte de Langres. The average speed touching 40 kilometres an hour. At the intermediate sprint at Colombey-les-Deux-Églises, Backert secures the points. Demar chases home the points for the green jersey from the peloton. Laurent Pichon of the Fortunaia team decides to go on the attack from the peloton. Further on, Quermenot takes the points on the Côte d'Orsay. Behind, Laurent Pichon has decided that his time to try and chase is over. The impressive attackers stayed ahead until 3 kilometres from the line, but the pace of the peloton was too much. A scintillating pace of over 60 kilometres an hour. In the final 200 metres, Demar, Kittel and Greipel drag raced, but Kittel opened up his sprint and raced home to take the win. Kittel is crowned the King of Troyes with his 11th win on the Tour and his 2nd win in this edition. 2 stage wins in 5 days has been a dream start for Kittel. His power is back with vengeance. How many more can he win?
First of all, I want to say that I'm very proud of my team. They did a great job. Very different to Liège. And we could really bring ourselves into the front in the key moment and keep me there. So that was really important for the victory. I feel good at the moment.
He's certainly feeling good. He's on top of the world. Kittel wins out of Demar and Greipel. In the yellow jersey classification, Chris Froome retains his lead, 12 seconds on his teammate Thomas, and Fabio Aru in 3rd. Little change in the top 10. Tomorrow we cover over 200 kilometres again with a 213.5 kilometre stage to Nuits-Saint-Georges for the first time in the history of the Tour. It might be a day where the breakaway outwits the peloton. Let's see what happens. Today the peloton enjoyed soaring temperatures and a long stage 7 before the return to the mountains. The riders departed Troyes with 213 kilometres ahead, finishing in Nuits-Saint-Georges. The intermediate sprint on the menu in Chanceau before the climb of the Côte d'Orsay and a final roll through the Burgundy vineyards to savour. The first arrival of the Tour in Nuit Saint-Georges should give the sprinters their final outing before some hard climbing ahead. Again, the attack formed early. 4 men are at the front from kilometre 0, ready to spend a long day ahead. The 4 men combined, united in the dream of staying ahead and winning at the finishing line. At the front, we find the Italian Manuel Mori of UAE, the Dutchman Dylan van Baarle of Cannondale, 2 Frenchmen, Johan Jean of Direct Energy and Maxime Bouet of Fortunato Oscaro. They created a significant gap in the first hour of the race, spinning at 44 kilometres an hour average. Manuel Mori clinched the intermediate sprint ahead of Bouet. In the peloton, it was Sonny Colbrelli that dominated. On a day of little difficulty, young Slovenian time trial sensation Primož Roglic unfortunately endured his second crash of the race. As they crested the Côte d'Orsay, Maxime Bouet picked up maximum King of the Mountains points. But as in previous days, the same scenario played out. A surge by the teams of the sprinters brought the race together with 6 kilometres remaining. That set off a stunning run to the line, the peloton hitting 75 kilometres an hour. The sprint was opened by Norwegian Bosenhagen with a final flourish. Marcel Kittel scored his 3rd win in a tight photo finish. Marcel Kittel took victory in the vineyards. His team deserved the corks to pop tonight after taking him perfectly to the finish. This signals a hat-trick of wins for the German powerhouse in the first week of racing.
It's an incredible success. I'm really proud on that. I'm in a great shape. I'm super happy that the team supported me so well today. I think we did a good lead out. We believed in this chance, in this victory, and it's just crazy.
More celebration for Marcel Kittel, edging Edvald Bosenhagen into 2nd place and Michael Matthews in 3rd. As we head into the mountains, Chris Froome still leads this race. No change in the overall classification. Tomorrow, the Tour takes to the heights again and approaches the Jura in a weekend of torment in the mountains, with a final tough climb on stage 8 to Les Rousses Station. Showdown Saturday is now here.